This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So good afternoon and welcome to the Captain's Run. You didn't see it, but Steph just had to put a 100 metre shift in there, legging it into the room as he heard the music. Hello, matey.
Right.
Absolutely. Big game on the horizon this evening. Really looking forward to that. But only one place to start. Of course, the breaking news today that this man has finally been announced as the Castleford Tigers coach for the next 3 seasons from 2026, Ryan Carr. What do you make of this one, Steph? Good business?
Well, time will tell. He did a good job when he was at Featherstone over here, obviously just down the road. Now in Castleford, he knows the area. He knows what he's going into as a community. So that's obviously a big plus. I think he was assistant, wasn't he, at St George? Is that right? Is that where he's done his time after that? Yeah. So that'll stand him in good stead as well. And obviously Chris Chester's doing a job on the recruitment. So if those two are in line, then that'll be really positive news for Castleford.
Yeah, talked a lot about culture in his first video shared by the Tigers, the identity that he wants to play. Looking forward to seeing what type of setup he's got and the players that he's got. He's been around a couple of clubs as well in the NRL since he left Featherstone. So, it always appeared from the outside looking in that Chris Chester favoured an NRL assistant coach as opposed to somebody in this country.
Yeah, it did. And someone who's got the right, attacking mindsets and stuff. So the good thing for him is he's going into a club where it couldn't get much worse, really. So it's the only way is up for him. So with the new recruits and everything, it should stand him in good stead. And the Cas fans hopefully should got stuff to look forward to for next season.
Yeah, I'm not quite. I know he was at Parramatta as well for some point. I don't know if his paths probably did cross with Brad Arthur. So I bet Brad's quite happy to have his old mate down the road.
Well, yeah. They all socialise together, don't they? They all know each other. But I think more importantly is he knows the area, so he's not going into a new environment. He knows what the Pontefract area is like in Yorkshire, and I'm sure he'll do a really good job for them.
It always astounds me when we go early on a Thursday because, of course, we've got commitments tonight. Your little one's birthday, of course, hence the reason why we're doing this a little bit early, and rightly so. Ellie comes first. But yeah, they're already in the chat. It's incredible. Rebecca Frey with us already. Phil Webster's with us. Sammy Holt on holiday. What else is Sammy doing other than topping with his suntan, I hear you say? Nicola Burton was always giving us a couple of kisses. Good fun. Great to have you all with us as always. These are the fixtures that we're going to be discussing on this round of Captain's Run. The Rhinos, of course, going up against KR this evening. Belting gaming prospect there. The Saints, they go up against Hull FC. Then it's the Leopards against Salford. The game going ahead on Friday night. The Giants take on the Tigers. The Giants up against the Wire. And then finally, what a great game. Sunday at 3 o'clock. Wigan Warriors taking on Wakefield Trinity. And, we did say on weekly, and we'll just go back there, it really is game on. I mean, when you actually look at the league table, KR, we expect the KR now to win the Shield. But a really tricky test for them. We'll get into this in a moment against the Leeds Rhinos. Leeds, of course, if they was to win that, put a lot of pressure on the Wigan Warriors because, of course, they would be tied up with Wigan. Wigan, of course, still to play Wakey. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Saints, of course, going up against Hull FC this weekend. Again, if Saints were to beat Hull FC, pressure on Wigan again, because Saints would go second overnight because of their points difference in the for and against columns. So like I say, things really now starting to get down to the nitty gritty. Good to hear Darryl Powell. I don't know if you heard him in his pre-match talking about the fact that the Salford cancellation game in 48-0. He wasn't that worried because of that point that Hull FC got against Leigh. He sees points difference where their fight for 6 is concerned as irrelevant. So in some respects, probably happy he got an extra week's rest for his lads, Steph.
Yeah, exactly. Points difference isn't going to come into it for Trinity. So yeah, the week off, the gift of 2 points. I'm sure he'll take that all day.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good afternoon to Greg Roach with us as well, and Mark Hill is also with us. Right, let's get into the conversations. We're going to start, of course, the big one tonight at AMT Headingley. Should be an absolute belting game. This one, as expected, because of the golden generation and the great form that Leeds have been in their Super League career. They have a 25-15 advantage in history. The last 5 meetings, though, 4 going the way of FC. Of course, the last one though. Going the way of the Leeds Rhinos. It's the 3rd best defence in the league. The Rhinos going up against the best defence in the league. Let's hope it's not too much of a defensive masterclass on both sides, and we get some tries as well. Interesting little sideline this. This season, of course, they have played them each other twice. Both of them have got a win, but the aggregate score 28 apiece. So that tells you a little bit about how close these two actually are. Not many teams this year, Steph, when we put that graphic up, have only been 62 points more in defence. And that basically tells you how well Leeds have done this year defensively.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that Brad Arthur's switched up has been the defence. It's been the most impressive thing about Leeds this year. And when they get their attack going as well, that makes them an incredibly dangerous side. As KR found out last time they played, so they'll be very wary tonight of Leeds. And I think that they're going to have to. KR wise, are going to have to attack a lot better than they did against Wigan to get over the line. I think they're going to need more points than they got against Wigan because Leeds are very capable, especially with Brodie Croft starting to come into a bit of form now, scoring points. So yeah, it's going to be one that I'm sure everyone will be tuning into tonight. It should be a cracker.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not forget when Leeds went to KR in round 17, KR were in a good spot at the end of that first half. You know, they were playing KR like, and I've said it a couple of times this season that KR have been at half time, not in an unassailable lead at half time, but then have managed to just cruise away against many sides. And I think Leeds was probably one of the first teams, on the second loss of the season, of course, at that point, who actually went the other way, where Leeds were galvanised at half time, came out and really put it on KR. Which surprised everybody. Of course, Sam Lizone crashing over that really made it tick for them. I do expect Leeds to give KR a stern challenge tonight, and this is for that reason. It's a very, very tough one to call, isn't it?
It is a very tough one to call. And if you remember the Leeds League game, Leeds shot off to a great start, probably the best team for 30 minutes, and then Leeds kicked on from there. And I think that was a Lissoni try that sparked them
Yeah.
off again. So yeah, it's going to be a very intriguing game to watch, and what I'm really looking forward to, I'm sure everybody else is, and so many permutations. You know, if Leeds can get the victory tonight, then that blows the second race wide open. And if KR get the win, then obviously that's another hand on the league leader shield.
Absolutely. And, you know, for those who are into the detail, that second game at Craven Park, you could put a tablecloth over how close they were both on the field and statistically, bar one stat that really did scream out at the end of that game, which was the missed tackles. 43, the Robins, to 28, the Leeds Rhinos. And that, again, very un-Robins like this season. The second half, it just wasn't them. And of course, they had the spillover then when they went to Leigh the game after. But, you know, 28 apiece over 2 games. Leeds will certainly go into this optimistic, you'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And they're in really good form at the moment. I think the main one is Lescu's pictured there. You know, that's a big loss for them. I don't think he's playing tonight. I'm hearing he's still injured.
Yeah.
So that obviously when you look at KR's pack, that's where I think they might get the edge a bit on Leeds. But the outside backs are just as good. They're going to cancel each other out. But I think the big incentive for KR in this one, if I believe if they win this and the next one, they would lift the league leaders shield at home to FC,
Yeah.
which is going to be that would be
Dream world.
yeah, it is for knowing what the rivalry's like in that city. They'll really want to do that just because of the implications on getting one over on the nearest and dearest.
Yeah, not just Deledsky though, mate. Tonight, where Leeds can see, of course, Cooper Jenkins still not in there either. So there's a couple of big middle units that are missing there for the Rhinos. There's no doubt about that. But I think certainly in the second row, I've not picked out the second row as some of the key areas, which we'll get to in a moment. We always do that, obviously, on Captain's Run. But I think second row, Bentley and O'Donnell. I think O'Donnell's been exceptional this year, of course. Be interesting to see who he puts in the front row. Is it going to be Hadley? Is it going to be Whitbread? I'm sort of expecting Dean Hadley to be in the front row. He's been doing that quite a lot when JWH has been out. Whitbread this year, a lot of the time playing in second row, which has been quite interesting alongside Batchelor. But I do think the edges in a game like this, the edges are absolutely critical. You've got the likes of Burgess going up. I'm trying to remember which side will Burgess be on. Burgess is on the left, isn't he? So it's him against Hall. Yeah. I mean, they're two juggernauts, aren't they? They're going toe to toe there.
Yeah, well, obviously Ryan Hall switched. He used to be on the left. Now he's on the right.
He's on right now.
Yeah, he has moved him to the right because they only have Edgell or Lum on the left hand side.
On the left.
So yeah, but when
Ryan Hall was Davies then, so it'd be Davies against Hall, and that's even as good a contest, isn't it?
No, it'll be Burgess against Hall.
Burgess is on the left. Oh, sorry, I'm getting me left and right. Right, there you go. There's a collector's item. I'm getting me left and right wrong. Burgess. It's always right in the first place. Never doubt yourself, Dave. Burgess against Hall. It's a belter.
Yes. And the confusion there, I think, is Hall used to play on the left wing, but now he's been put onto the right wing going back to Leeds. So, it's a fantastic matchup, that one. And where I think Burgess has probably got the edge on him, Hall's lost that bit of pace now. We've seen that a few times when Hall's gone through and he's been caught. Obviously, Ryan Hall's very dangerous still from close out. He's obviously, he's a prop on the wing, isn't he? The size of him. So Leeds will look to use him from short range, I'd imagine. But it'd be interesting to see whether Mikey goes to the air and tries to test Ryan Hall in the air with Burgess, because that's been a tactic that's been employed. We've seen it over the last few games. Some interesting. There's matchups all over the park with this one.
All over. Of course, May coming back massive for the Robins. Of course, Croft, who was in great form last time out. But of course, picked out a couple of key battles. I mean, we had to go here. I mean, you have to. Two Steve Prescott Man of Steel races, depending on which league table you look at. These two are pretty much vying for all the honours from an individual perspective in 2022. I mean, in some cases, very, very close with each other. In other cases, not so. I mean, obviously, Jake Connor's kicking game, I would argue, is at this moment in time better than Mikey's, albeit Mikey does do more kicks. I think the quality of Connor's kicks probably just outshines Mikey at the moment. But Mikey, from an attacking threat perspective, I mean, 45 try creations or scores in a season is quite sensational. I mean, Connor's good at 31. But, you look down that list, Mikey, from an attacking threat in terms of running plays, edges Jake more, like I say, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think this is why, for me, Mikey's ahead of Connor on the Man of Steel. Whether he is on points, obviously, we don't know. Yeah. But my personal opinion, if you look at those stats, it's clear who the best player is at the moment. And you're right, Connor does edge him slightly on the attacking kick fronts, but Mikey's improved in that area this year. So he's not only has he carried on the same as he was last year in terms of his attacking threat, his kicking game and his kicks in general play have improved massively. So it's a great matchup, and Connor's been in great form. He's proved a lot of people wrong this year. It's a massive game, and it'd be interesting to see which one of these two really shines tonight. And we've seen the good and the bad. Mikey didn't do much against Wigan. And he has got that tag on him, hasn't he, of going into hiding a little bit in the big games. But likewise, we've seen from Connor in passing into the stands in some high pressure games as well. So I think whoever whoever's coming out on top in these two is probably going to be on the victorious side.
Well, hold me bear, because there's another battle that I think could equally dictate which way this one goes, mate, and it's the one at fullback. We were talking about this at weekly, hence the reason why I put the graphic up on Captain's Run, because we were debating who is the front runner for Man of Steel #1. It's got the race for Man of Steel there, it should say, for Dream Team. My apologies for that. But the stats are all correct. And what's interesting is that actually, Morg's only played one game more than Lockie Miller this season. But look how close it is. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, Miller, don't get it wrong, from a run threat perspective, from a bust perspective, there's clear daylight there. But in terms of, like I say, scoring plays, very, very close. This, for me, again, is a really interesting one. Both of them very good on the arch. I think Miller does more work. You tend to see him popping up a lot more than perhaps Morg does, but Morg, obviously, when his dancing feet kick in, he's quite a prospect. Quite simply, if it's not a Connor Lewis show, one of these two could take the man of the match tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the difference with the two players is, and this is the reason why Miller's stats are so high on meters and busts, he tends to carry more from the fullback position, whereas Morg does do some of that, but they're also heavily reliant on Burgess and Davis doing a lot of that work as well. Whereas Ryan Hall doesn't tend to do as much of that, or Edgill. So that's probably where the disparity is there in that respect. But no doubt about it, the two best fullbacks in the comp at the moment for me. And a bit like we just said about Connor and Lewis, these two are going to have a massive impact in how this game goes tonight. It's fascinating and we'll really exciting to see how it goes.
Yeah, well, Gary Hutchinson said, I think it was last night on social, he just wants it done and dusted as quickly as possible from a KR perspective. But this is a big challenge again tonight because of how well Leeds have played this season. Ryan Hall, we've already spoke about Ryan Hall. If he gets 2 tries tonight, which I don't quite see him doing, but you never know, he would draw level with Paul Newlove in 18th place in the all-time scorers in the British game. There's no doubt about it. That's a great player to be drawing level with Paul Newlove, isn't it? I mean, 2 absolute powerhouses in rugby league history in this country. Just another milestone for a great player.
Yeah, right. We already spoke about him earlier on. Been a fantastic servant to the game, model professional, and someone who always speaks really well. I've always loved listening to Ryan Hall interviews because he's not only very eloquent in how he describes stuff, but he's also honest. He tells it as it is, and he's also very humble. Always wanting to pass on the credit to other people rather than himself. But that's something, a characteristic of a great player, isn't it? They know they're good. They don't have to tell everybody they're good, and they let everybody else talk about them. So, no, he's been a great servant to the game, and obviously got another year next year as well, which I'm a bit surprised that Leeds have done that. But obviously, there's sentimental stuff in
Possibly.
terms of Rhino as
Yeah,
well,
possibly.
and as a reward for him. But it'd be interesting to see if he does keep that with Sivo coming back into the team.
Well, I think Sivo's got a shot, because again, it's how Sivo comes back. You've got to take into account Sivo's age. It's a bad injury, and we've already spoke again on social with the members last night. We're talking Riley Lum, Alfie Edgill. They've got players there that'll be fighting tooth and nail for the wing spot. So yeah, it might not be as straightforward for Mika Sivo when he does come back. Albeit, of course, Brad Arthur is a big fan of his. The other milestones for this game: Jez Litton. It's a double anniversary for Jez tonight. It'll be 150 in Super League, which means it's 150 for KR in Super League. So outstanding for Jez when he gets there. And Tom Davies needs 1 try to reach 100 in his Super League career. So that is this evening's milestones from a KR perspective. None this week for Leeds that I could find. And the non-members, they're back in KR 128. That's just in. But it should be an absolutely belting game, of course. Make sure you catch it. The Sky build-up will come on at 7:30. And I think this is going to be a really great start to the weekend. It's almost like a bookshelf with two bookends this week. We've got an outstanding start and an outstanding second, with a couple of tasty ones in the middle. But yeah, let's hope this gets us off to the right start, and I'm sure that it will. Right, let's jump forward. It's your game after this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
On Friday. You're playing Friday night. So we'll just quickly jump to the league game. Just from a point of view of the Leopards, of course, we don't know the squad. We know that the likes of Ollie Russell have been drafted in to the Salford Red Devils squad. We know it's just going to be a patched up job, and we would expect the Leopards to get a win. The question is, can the Leopards do what other teams have been doing and get that big score? Because again, from a Leopards perspective, and it's pretty cruel on Salford, but points difference really does matter with how close it's going to be at the top. So the Leopards will want to really put the foot down, won't they, in this one, and get a very tasty win, Steph?
Well, sorry to go against you, mate, but it matters not a jot because we're the same as FC. The points
Oh, of
difference
course,
is
yeah.
irrelevant.
My apologies. You're right. I'm forgetting that. That's Do you know what? I'm having a bad day at the office. It doesn't happen often, but there you go. I'm having a bad day. It doesn't matter a job, but they'll want to score a few tries and entertain the public.
Yeah, what I think the big thing for Leigh is here is they're going to bring the changes. I'm expecting at least six changes, from the team that played against FC. And more excitingly, I think we're going to see players like AJ Towes come into the team.
Where will he play? On the wing?
On the wing, yeah, the wing. I expect him to go on the wing and Badrock in the centres. We're going to see Aaron Penne come in. Alex Tutavak is going to come in. Brad Dwyer is going to come in. So probably Darnell McIntosh as well. So that they're going to be the main changes. Obviously no Joe Offengawe. He's expected to be out in 4 to 5 weeks with his hamstring tweak.
Yeah.
Edwin Ipape, he's not going to play in this game. I would expect maybe Owen Trout to get a rest in this one as well.
Mullen has to play, doesn't he, for fitness?
I think Mullen will play. He needs to get minutes under him. I expect Gaz O'Brien maybe to be rested as well for this one. So yeah, lots of changes, but this is all about getting players competing for places, putting a bit of pressure on those above them currently in the pecking order to improve performances. And get the 2 points. That's all that matters in this game. It doesn't matter whether it's 10-6 or whatever. Leigh just needs to get the 2 points in this one, but also get some game time for your players like Brad Dwyer, for your players like AJ Towes, because they're trying to get into that 17 and put pressure on the others.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it as well, the supporting cast, as it were, you don't know what's going to happen in the back end of the season. So it's vitally important to get the run out and they get a few minutes under the belt, because some of these players might be called upon at the back end. Would you expect Tessie New to get a well-earned rest in this one? Is that where do you think Badrock will deputise for New and they'll give him a bit of a rest?
Because I thought Tessie New was quite disappointing against Hull FC. I thought we were a team more from him. I think they would potentially rest Amaya Hanley.
Do you think?
Yeah, but who knows? I think Adrian Lamb will obviously know which players need a rest, which players need to be dropped. More importantly, to put pressure on them. So the biggest interest in this game is what these teams are going to look like, and hopefully we get to see some exciting players coming in and really trying to earn their place, because there's nothing more dangerous than someone trying to earn the place in a 17 and prove a point.
Well, I remember a very youthful-looking Leigh Leopards at the start of the season coming to the Warrington Wolves for Toby King's testimonial, and they attributed themselves very well that night. So you Leopards fans, make sure you turn out at the LSV for that one, because it's tomorrow's probably the future of the club that you're going to see on Friday. Well worth a visit. Right, let's now go to a game that probably has a bit more on it, and that, of course, is St Helens taking on Hull FC at the Totally Wicked Stadium. Both teams in decent form, 4 wins out the last 5 for them. St Helens have won their last 9. I'll say that again, 9 games against FC. Incredible. Hull's last away win at the Saints was an 8-6 Super 8s, remember them? Super 8s win in August 2017. Of course, they have met each other this season in round 18. A 13-6 win for the Saints. Carl Felt, of course, a double on that day for them. FC's last win in Super League against the Saints was at the MKM Stadium back in 2022, a 34 points to 6 win in round 16. But here's one for you, Steph. Here's one for you. We're only going back 3 years, just over 3 years. Of that team that beat Saints 34 points to 6, how many survivors are in the Hull FC squad for this game?
No.
Not quite. 2. Davy Litton and Jordan Lane.
Right.
They're the only 2. The try scorers that day.
Did they play in it?
Yeah, they're in the game. Yeah,
Right.
the only players that scored, every player that scored for FC that day is no longer with the club. Jake Clifford, Darnell McIntosh, Chris Satai, Cam Scott, Jake Truman, and Carlos Tumavari. What a player he was! Tumavari, class player. So that just goes to show the amount of change in a short period of time at FC. That's only 3 years ago. Only Davy Litton and Jordan Lane survive from that team. So that's really interesting. Very interesting indeed. Now, we've spoke at length about the loss of John Asiata. I mean, look, on paper, Saints better form. They are certainly more handsomely placed in the table. They seem to be coming back to prominence as well. This is, of course, the 21-man squads. From your perspective, it's hard not to see how Saints win this. It won't be easy, but surely you would expect Saints to go in as favourite.
Yeah, I think home advantage is big for them. But saying that, FC have won most of the games on the road this year. It's going to be a close game. Saints have got the benefit of confidence of some really, really good performances, and even when I think the only game they've lost is against Leigh, isn't it, in the recent history there? And even that was a close game. So because they're playing so well, I think we saw the difference last week when Hull FC lost Asiata. That was when Leigh started coming back into the game. He's crucial for them for their attacking shape, and you could see the difference when Asiata went off. Their attacking shape went to pieces, and the only try they got off was off a Leigh mistake from a pass behind, wasn't it? When Martin went through. So that's going to be a massive loss for Hull FC. I don't see Saints getting a massive win, but I do see them getting the win. I think they're just going to be slightly better. But the good news for FC is they've got players coming back into that team. If Caesar comes back in, if Rapana comes back in, whether he'll keep Hardacre at 6, who knows? But I thought Hardacre did a really good job at 6 against Leigh. He's been great for them all season. He's been an 8 out of 10 every week. So yeah, it's I'm intrigued to see what the actual selection will be for FC. I think we can pretty much write Saints' team sheet for them, but Hull FC's is a bit more. Depends which way he goes.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, one good thing here for FC, where FC are concerned in this game, and you've already attributed to it, the fact that they're getting the likes of Rapana back, Chamberlain's back, Caesar back, it does give them the option now of maybe putting people back into their rightful spots, doesn't it? So it's going to be interesting where Hardacre starts. I don't expect him to start in the halves. I expect that's going to be Cust and Caesar. Would you be tempted to leave Hardacre at full back and Rapana go into the centres if Rapana's back?
I would think Rapana plays better in the centres than at full back. The thing with Caesar is when FC lost Asiata, Caesar looked half the player he was. It's definitely a plus getting him back, but is it going to be enough? That's the question. We'll see, and also the fact that he's coming back from injury as well, so he's not going to hit the ground running. I'll be very surprised if he comes and hits the ground running. He's going to need a couple of games to get back into it. So I think that's probably FC's Achilles heel a little bit in this game and why I expect Saints to win the game. But would I be surprised if FC turned Saints over? No, they're more than capable of doing it. They've got some great players there now, and also very confident off the back of that victory against Leigh last week.
Absolutely, mate. And look, the last time these two met back in whatever round it was, 17, 18, whatever, I think it was 17, we did, of course, pick out the battle of Walmsley and SASA. We don't go back to the well twice. We're not doing that. But again, I think some of those middle unit battles, Walmsley, Leeds, Knowles, of course, in the middle units alongside him, it's going to be very interesting to see how all that pans out tonight. But like I say, yeah, don't discredit Hull FC. I think they'll go there and they'll put a really good account of themselves on the line. But I do think that Saints at the moment looking a little bit too hot. Well done to Bazza Kingston. As always, sending his love. He's decided to donate £5 just to say thank you for putting this on. That's very kind of you, my friend. And also S&J Detailing. That, of course, is our very good friend, Mr. Joel Scholes. He's in the chat as well, wishing us both a very good afternoon, Mr. Scholes. I hope you well. Right, so I've already said we've not gone there. We've not gone back to the obvious ones. I'll tell you I always like to pick out a nice little battle. Another battle that we picked out last time these two met was Martin against Dagnall, and that didn't disappoint. That was a wonderful little tussle. So let's go to another little tussle. This will be a belter. Robertson, Lytton. Both of these two this year having a great season. Again, both played 17 times for their respective clubs, and it's very, very close. I mean, if you look down that is as close as you can get. That is unbelievable. When you sometimes when I'm putting these things together for these shows, I just sit back and go, wow, absolutely wow. Incredible performances from both players. It's going to be good to see these two go toe to toe.
Yeah, two of the most talented young centres in the English centres in the game. So it's going to be a fantastic watch to see these two go against each other. When these two are both on, phenomenal, And I think one of the most impressive things for Lytton and why Martin's got the points that he has is he's really good at distributing as well. So he gets the tries, but he's also got 8 assists there. I'm assuming most of those will have been to Martin. So they've got a really good relationship and work well together. And I think Robertson his ability to get around the first tackle is his biggest asset, and he's a tall lad, a tall, rangy lad, but he can really get those tackle busts up. As you can see, there 70 this season. Great returns from him. So it's going to be a great tussle between these two, and they both going to have a big impact in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think, there's nothing better than seeing, and I think you're two lads like this go toe to toe, but I think you're right. And I think that, that perhaps is, Robertson's outstanding. Absolutely, both of them absolutely outstanding. But I think you're right to draw people's attention to the telepathy, to the combination that Lytton and Martin have got. I think that they are probably a little bit, at this moment in time, perhaps a little bit more assured in their combination than perhaps Robertson and Felt is. A lot of Felt's tries have come from the bombs, haven't they, where they're putting him up in the corner and he's managed to get in over and above. It'd be interesting to see that dynamic and that relationship grow as well over the years. But I mean, I'm just trying. It's a close one to call this in terms of who's got the pace battle, because there's not much in it, is there? I wouldn't say in terms of pace. I think not only from an attacking sense, but from a cover defence perspective, covering tackles. If the likes of a Lytton broke from halfway or a Martin, Robertson and Felt would give him a good chase, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely, and. I think they're both not too far away from each other. They're so close in ability, these two players.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's potentially two that could be future England players. I think they're that highly. I don't think they're there yet, either of them, but not far away. When the problem is you're comparing them for England selection against the likes of Farnworth and Wardle. So, but I think if you look at what they're doing and what them two were doing at their age, these two aren't far off that.
Yeah, but at an international level, Falmouth, obviously, he's young, Wardle a little bit older. Their time is probably 4, maybe 5 years down the track. They're probably the ones that will take over, or certainly when they reach that prominent age. I mean, centres for me, probably you start to see the best of them, and that's the frightening prospect where these two are concerned. You normally see the best of a centre around 26, 27, 28, and they're a long way off that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But what I was referring to is the indicators are there now for these two. Well, the way they're performing in Super League and what they're doing in Super League at the moment is a great indicator in terms of their potential. And you're right, we won't see the best of these two for another 4 or 5 years. That's great news for St Helens and Hull FC fans because they've got some developing to do, but they're already, right up there with the top performers in their respective teams already. So, so that's great news for FC and Saints.
Absolutely, and to our friend, hey, I'm not having a go at Saints when I say this, but to our friend that we showcased it on, Give Your Head a Wobble. Enjoy watching the show, Pony, Jack Wellsby, this weekend. Can't believe a Saints fan called his own Jack Wellsby a show pony. Wow, absolutely wow. Anyway, great game, absolutely great game. Like I say, this one for me in that middle quadrant. We've said great game to start the weekend off. There's a great game we're going to talk about in a minute that's going to end the week, and I think this one that sits right in the middle is equally a brilliant game of rugby league in the making. Really looking forward to this one when it comes around over the course of the weekend. Right, let's go over to Perpignan, where Castleford Tigers, of course, now with their head coach, they've got to start impressing him. He's been named, so he's going to be, I would expect now, very like Burgess when he was over in Australia. He watched all the film, he watched all the video. There's no doubt about it. Mr. Carr will be watching all the video. We will be doing as much pre-prep as he possibly can in anticipation for his taking over the reins in 2026. So now it's about these Castleford Tigers players who are even the ones that are under contract. Listening to Chris Chester, it's time to step up and show your new coach that you wish to stick around and really put a shift in for the Tigers next year. It's fair to say both of these two sides have had absolutely shocking seasons. More so Catalan, really, really disappointing from a Dragons perspective. That said, Catalan have won their last 6 home games against the Castleford Tigers. The Tigers' last victory at the Stade Gilbert Brutès was 32-24 in July 2017. So that's a long, long time ago since the Tigers went over there and won. They have, of course, played each other once already this year in round 5. That was a 26-4 win at what was then the Jungle, now the Wombo, of course. A big win for the Dragons, and they haven't had many of them this year. Let's be clear on that as well. I think their fans just want to see something, don't they, Steph? I mean, they can't get excited because the season's over, but professional pride. They just want to see something from the team, don't they?
Yeah, they'll be looking thing. And first half against Warrington, they were great. Really, really impressed with Catalan. I thought they went out with the right attitude. And they'll be really disappointed that they didn't get anything out of that game after the way they started. Obviously, we know Tommy Makinson going off had a big impact in that game and the restructure that they had to do. I expect Fujiara to come in to replace Tommy Makinson this week, which I don't see that as too much of a downgrade. I like Yaha. I think he's a decent player, but it will be a big miss, especially as Makinson was scoring a hat trick in the first half in that game and looked like he was coming into a bit of form.
Yeah, I mean, Makinson's a massive, massive loss for the Dragons. There's no doubt about that. But that said, they're coming up against a Castleford side where their back, the 3/4 line has been completely decimated, absolutely decimated. Cine was in great form, not there. Texoy, not there. Sam Wood, I think Sam would admit by his own high standards before he got his injury last year, he's not reached those standards this season. He's been a little bit out of sorts in his senior. Is irreplaceable at the Castleford Tigers. He's that good a player. So the fact that they are, like I say, pretty decimated across that back line, that for me is where this game is possibly lost for the Tigers. I just don't see the strike, do you?
No, well, Nick Kotrick and Remy Smith should have a field day.
Yeah.
Against that back line of Castleford. They did a pretty decent job against Warrington and Liguer. He had a really good game for Catalan. Really stepped up in that game against Wire. So he's another one who I'm going to be watching closely for in this game, running it against what is not the best Castleford three quarters that they could put out. So that I think you're right in saying it could be where it's won. I also think the forward pack of Catalan is going to be real tough to deal with for this
Yeah,
Castleford pack.
yeah.
So with that in mind, I think the Catalan fans might be going home happy this week.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the previous graphic, when you look at the Tigers, they've actually scored 6 points more this season than the Dragons, but which gives you a little bit of hope. But they've also conceded more, and I think that's where it is. It's the you take that three quarter line away, where a lot of those points, the likes of Senior and Cine and Hoy before he got injured, quite a considerable amount of those 330 points have come from those players. You take that out, that's where for me it's won and lost, unfortunately for them. Quick shout out to a new name in the chat as we're live this afternoon, Captain James Barrow. Now I don't know if that's a nickname or he's actually served for the country. That's an interesting one, but here he is talking about Robertson. In his opinion, if he was to stay fit, he will be the best player we've produced in 30 years, possibly coming from a Saints perspective there, I'm suggesting. But that is quite a statement. Your thoughts on that, Steph?
He's going to have some way to beat James Roby, isn't he, for a start?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but as Reggie would say, he's got the potential.
Yeah.
He's got a long way to go, but he's got all the hallmarks of a great player.
Yeah. Hell of a
Um,
statement. Hell of a
yeah,
statement. We'll see. And do you know what? It can only be a good thing for England if that was true. So yeah. Right. I mean, look. We celebrate the great game of rugby league here at Super League Raw, and we do. We celebrate the great game of rugby league, but it's a difficult one, this one, Catalan against Castleford. So I thought I'd do a little bit of something different. Super League disappointments. If we were doing a league table of the most disappointing new player in Super League 2025, Kiri's definitely up there. But even Assy came with a degree of optimism, and we were expecting a lot from him. Yeah. Would you agree that these two will be in that conversation in terms of players that, for whatever reason, have not captured the form or the imagination that we expected them to?
yeah. I think they both fall into that category of being a bit disappointing. I think Kiri more so than Arce though.
I
You look
agree.
at what Kiri's got to work with at Catalan.
Yeah.
Castleford have been appalling this year. Like and that's probably being generous to them. Arce's not done too bad in a team that's been poor. He's not had a lot to work with. Whereas when you look at the weapons that Kiri's had at his disposal and the pack that he's playing in front of as well.
Yeah.
But I think you could make the same argument for those players at Catalan, though they've really not lived up to expectations and
No.
not give him the platform to work with. So, but I agree. Both these two, you'd have hoped with Kiri more so though. With Kiri's caliber and that, you'd have expected him to light up Super League, and he just hasn't.
Yeah, I know. And the mad thing about it is, you've almost been at the start of the season, you might have looked at this and gone, oh, that's going to be a tasty little matchup. And they've just both flattered to deceive. That said, I'm sure it'll be an interesting tussle when they go head-to-head at the weekend. But yeah, I just thought, again, you look at the stats, they've both played enough games. But you look at that. I mean, when we were looking earlier on at some of the other players, the likes of Miller, the likes of Arthur Moore, Mikey Lewis, Jake Connor, and you're talking 40 odd, try, makes or scores, and then you look at that, these two playing in the same positions. It's a gulf of difference, and you're right where Kiri's concerned. I know he's at the end of his career, and I know it's a swan song, and I know that. But if Mikey Lewis and Jake Connor are producing the stats that they are, even at his age and it being a swan song, Kiri should be, for me, posting around the number 30 after 21 rounds, and he's not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it is a swan song. He retired, I think, didn't he? And came out of retirement to go. He should have stayed retired. And I think his comments on Super League have come back to bite him a little bit in terms of his own performances. But I'd be look just to finish on Arce. I'd like to see Arce in a good side.
Yeah,
I think there's a player there. I really do, and he's shown glimpses of it. If he can get behind a pack going forward and have some outside backs who can actually produce something and run decent lines. I think could be a player in there. He has impressed me in a couple of games this year.
Yeah, I agree. If you're trying to rack your brain in terms of who has had that odd touch of genius in the odd game, you're right. Assi has had a couple of those. I mean, he had a great game against Warrington, case in point,
Yes. Yeah.
at the Womble, if you remember it well. Gary Brummett, not seen Gary for a while. Hope you're well there. I think it's a bit harsh putting Assi in the same conversation as Kieran. We're not comparing and contrasting them in that way, Gary. We're saying that both have probably fell short where we expected them both to be. I've just put them on the same graphic. Is what I would say on that. And Jordan Haley, another new name. Jordan, if you want to know what he had to say about JWH, then go and listen to the Final Whistle podcast that came out on Monday. You'll get that on Apple or Spotify or your favorite podcast provider, or if you want, actually, did we speak about it on Weekly? I don't think we did.
Yeah.
So
no, we did.
We go into it? Yeah, we did. So if you want to watch Super League Raw Weekly around JWH, there you go. But we won't regurgitate because we've still got to look forward to some more games that we want to discuss. Tommy Makerson, of course, is out, so there'll be no 200th try in Super League for Tommy this week. However, I did see Alex Mellor, didn't I? Alex Mellor was listed, wasn't he? Yes, he was. Alex Mellor, 250th career appearance for Alex Mellor in Perpignan if he plays. So congratulations to Alex if he gets to that milestone. Right, okay, let's go to the wire. The wire going up against Huddersfield Giants. Gutted they moved this to Sunday and didn't bring it forward to Friday because I can't go. If they'd have brought it forward to Friday, I'd have been there and my old mucker Joel, and I'm absolutely devastated not to be in the company of our Cardwell Army friends on Sunday. But yeah, Warrington go back to Huddersfield, of course, 1-1 in the series. This is the end of the 3-game series between these two this weekend. And of course, you've got to find a narrative for both of them. I think Warrington's season's done in terms of playoffs. So yeah, a series 1-1. Who's going to take the spoils, Huddersfield or Warrington? Of course, Warrington, great record against Huddersfield up until that last game. 4-1 the last 5 games. Both have won 2 out of the last 5. Warrington a better attack and better defence, as you can see there on the graphic. Mark Sneed, here's one for you, Steph. This one's been pulled out. He's scored points in the last 18 games. Not surprising with him being a goal kicker, but he has scored points in the last 18 games against Huddersfield, which is interesting. His scoring streak began all the way back in March 2019. He's Mark Sneed, and we've not got to your try scores yet. And I did tell you when they went to the HJ this one, Toby King has scored a try now in the last 4 games against Huddersfield. Of course, the big question is if he plays this one, but if he does, he has got a phenomenal strike rate against the Huddersfield Giants. For those who have forgotten already, let's remind you, of course, Warrington went down to Huddersfield. We were there, opening game of the season. Good game as well, 20 points to 12. Warrington didn't have it their own way. That was before some other injuries hit the Giants. Some really good displays that day. Joe Greenwood had a belter. Zach Wolford had a belter. And then, of course, Huddersfield came to Warrington and really had a good performance at the HA in round 15, 24-16. Of course, Warrington that day, very clunky in attack. Not the best game for Sneed and Williams on that day, but some really good performances from the likes of Gagai. Milne had a good game on that day as well. So, yeah, an interesting game in that respect. Of course, we've had no team news for this one. We are hearing that Paul Vaughan possibly is going to be still out. There's question marks over if Dufty and King. Dufty doesn't play this one for me. I'm just thinking it's taxi for Dufty because there's no reason why he doesn't. He played in the reserves last week. He is fit. To miss out on 3 games for the wire, that's not good. So it's going to be very, very fascinating to see, does Dufty play? Does King come back in? I mean, obviously Gardner going out and what a shame that was, Zach Gardner getting that injury. And I was speaking to his dad yesterday, and they're optimistic. His season's done. They're optimistic it's not going to be too bad, but might need surgery on it. We'll have to wait and see. But we wish Zach nothing but the best of luck, because to be fair to Zach, Steph, in the games that he has played, there's a player there, isn't there?
Yeah, got a good try, didn't he, against Catalan, the game we were at.
Oh, man, away.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it'll be disappointing for him. Obviously, you'd imagine King will come back in
Yeah.
to the centre position, which is not a downgrade by any means. I do expect Dufty to play this week, and I think he'll provide that bit of spark for the attack. And we'll learn a lot about Dufty, I think, this week as well, in terms of how he approaches this game, whether he's if he's navel gazing or whether he's flying through Huddersfield's defence. It's going to be one or the other, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
so yeah. But I think the biggest one for me, and it sounds stupid given the grief I've given to this player over the years, Matt Frawley missing for Huddersfield. I think he's done a great job
Yeah.
since he's gone into that side from an organisation and a kicking point of view. And to lose him is just another kick for Huddersfield, and that's why I do expect Dufty to come in. I do expect Kings to come in, and I think that's going to be enough to give Warrington a pretty comfortable win in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that said, I mean, I mentioned, again, I'm having my best day today. Russell's gone to Huddersfield. I think that's inspired. I think that is, fair play to Luke Robinson there for doing that, because, of course, Russell left not fancied. Let's be crystal. He got, he wasn't getting a look in at Huddersfield, and off he goes. So to bring Ollie back, Ollie's going to go there, or should go there, with the mindset of, I'm going to show you why you should not have let me go to Wakefield Trinity. And you'd expect Ollie to put a shift in. So I actually think that's an inspired decision to get Russell back in. And if they get the best version of Ollie Russell, that's not a bad deputy. That is not, because for me, I think Ollie Russell's a player. Again, we off air, we've been talking, because we had a really good debate over halfbacks on social last night with the members. And we've been talking about halfbacks. And, Ollie Russell's one of them where, this 14-team comp could benefit somebody like an Ollie Russell, where, he's never managed to get in because other players have come in before him. But because the talent is going to have to be stretched a little bit further, for somebody like an Ollie Russell, this expansion to 14 could suit him well.
Yeah, you could definitely see Ollie being a starting six or someone, couldn't you? He's got the talent, he's got the ability to do it. I think what he needs is a run and a chance and also to remain injury free as well. Is a key one. So yeah, but you're right. You should go there wanting to make a point and to really want to set a marker down and put himself in the shop window as well, because he's obviously out of favour at Wakefield.
Well, it was interesting because, again, you're probably not listening to the Dow. You're a very busy man, Mr. Sale, so I'll fill in the blanks for you. Dow Powell's pre-match, he was actually asked about Ollie Russell, and he's very much a part of Wakefield's plans for 2026. I mean, Dowell was very sympathetic in terms of Ollie's injury woes this season, and he's got a lot of respect for Ollie now. But it's like everything, there's cap and all. If somebody comes in, who knows? But Dowell Powell did give the impression that he hopes that Ollie can have a really, I think his words were, he's got to just have a really strong pre-season and hit the ground running. So it was very, very, if you're Ollie Russell, there was positive language from a Wakefield perspective in terms of his immediate future.
Yeah, I think there's potentially a bit of he's got to say that though, hasn't he? Because it's a contracted player for them for 2026. He's not going to say he's got no chance, is he?
Death Sale. Here's me trying to give Ollie a little bit of a carrot, and there's you with a great big stick.
No, I think the carrot for Ollie is to prove people wrong. I'm just saying that coaches aren't going to say that a player's rubbish that's or not going to have a chance in a team that he's contracted to for next season. But we all know he's got the ability. I think I agree with Powell in terms of it's injuries that have really cost him at key moments where he could have had a run. He got that. He was given the 6 shirt, wasn't he? At 7 shirt, one of the thing, I think. At Wakefield. So they obviously saw him as the starting thing, and also to put pressure on Lino to improve as well, which I think was a inspirational bit of coaching there by Darryl Powell. But he's got a lot to prove to himself, but he's also got a lot to prove to other people. But this is where the expansion of the league.
Will benefit him.
There's going to be teams looking for a good halfback, and there's no doubt he's a good halfback. It's just whether they'll take the risk on a player that's been quite injury prone.
Absolutely. Of course, we had Oliver on in conversation at the start of the season. If you missed that, go and check that out, where he was talking about his aspirations. Obviously, those have not come to fruition for him, bless him. But it's a really, really good chat. Right. Let's give some milestones. Sam Powell, 300 for Super League, if he plays. Toby King, 200 in Super League, if he plays. And Ben Curry is still searching, and he has been for many weeks now, for his 100th try for the Warrington Wolves. Right, let's pick out some. Do you know what? Had to do this. Family ties, the Thewlis boys. I mean, opportunity knocks. No Ashton. If Ashton's in fully fit, Jake probably doesn't get the 15 appearances he's had in Super League this season. And who'd have thought this at the start of the season, that Jake Thewlis would be outscoring his brother Josh? It's been a right result, in a year where there's not been many results for Warrington. I think Jake Thewlis has been a result. Only 19, 20. I think he's turned 20 now. Only a young man. And, whilst certain aspects of his game are not as strong as Josh's, I think he would take his 3-try advantage over Josh, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean that's the stat that everybody associates with wingers, isn't it? That and meters obviously now is a big part of a winger's game as well, in terms of the carries from out the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he'd be delighted with his 15 appearances in the first team. He wouldn't have been expecting to get that this season. I think he's taken his chance really, really well. He's not the finished article by any means, but he has shown enough for me that he is a Super League winger, and he's going to be for many years to come. He's a great finisher. Showed some great athleticism for his try at the weekend, and that's kind of a minimum standard now, isn't it, for the wingers in Super League, that you can finish like that, especially the very good ones. So no, brilliant for Warrington to have these two players. To have it as a backup is going to be comfort for Sam for next year, because Matty Ashton is going to come back in. That's without a doubt. So one of these two will miss out. More than likely, it will be Jake.
Yeah.
But fantastic for Sam to know if Josh or Matty do go down, then Jake's waiting in the wings with 15 games under his belt.
Well, the other flip side, again, where the Duffy situation is concerned, Kai Taylor-Ray's waiting in the wings, and he's chomping at the bit for the opportunity at Warrington, and Josh can fill in there. So almost in a KR kind of way with Jack Broadbent. The good thing about Josh is he is a competent fullback. So that, again, if Kai had a little bit of a wobble, Sam could put Josh back there, bring Jake in to cover for Josh with Ashton on the other side. So it just gives that little bit of fluidity there. So I think it's really, there's no doubt about it. I think Jake Thewlis has really given Sam a bit more ammunition in those higher shirt numbers, and all credit to him. But on the day itself, this for me is where this game is won and lost. I think the battle at 9 is a belter, absolute belter. Danny Walker back and he's flying, and Wolford, who I think's had a great season for Huddersfield. He really, really has. Different types of players. I mean, you look down Wolford's stats and you're going, do you know what? Not that great, but it's his tackling. From a go forward perspective, that's what Danny's really brought back to Warrington is a bit of go forward. Both of them like to have the hands on the ball. Both of them like to run from dummy half. The one surprising thing about Danny, 12 appearances, yet to do a 40-20. So for those of you who I know that Bet Stef doesn't do this, but last year Danny Walker had the most 40-20s in Super League with 4. Got to happen one of these games. I don't know what odds there are for a Danny Walker 40-20 in this game, but let me tell you, he's due one. He is absolutely due one. You'd agree with me. 2 brilliant 9s. This for me on the day of a really good contest. It's going to be fascinating to see how these two go.
Yeah, I think Wolford, since he's come back, has really shored up the Huddersfield team, and I know people will laugh at that with getting battered at Saints at the weekend, but they have looked better when he's been in the side. I think if Danny Walker plays for Warrington all season, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think it's as simple as that. I think he makes that much. We saw it against Catalans, the difference when he came on. Warrington looked like they got more go forward. And he brings everybody else up in that Warrington side. He's by far Warrington's best player, by far. And it's no coincidence that the NRL was sniffing around Danny. I think he could very easily go to the NRL and do what Hodgson did at Canberra. Be that type of player. I see him very similar to him. He's a great at go forward. Really good kicker of the ball as well, like you've already alluded to with his 40-20s, but also his positional kicking as well. He just shifts out of dummy half and gets the ball downfield and gets Warrington in really good positions. So he's key to everything Warrington do, not only this for the remainder of this season, but for next season as well. And they really need to build a team around Danny now.
Future captain for me, Danny. Future captain, absolutely. I completely agree with what you've just said. Danny Walker is fit for 21 rounds this season. Warrington are in the top 6. There's no doubt about that, in my personal opinion. Just going back to Wolford, 653 tackles this season with a tackle efficiency of 96%. Incredible. Incredible.
Not incredible, but not surprising, because that's what we were just alluding to. That's his game. He's a good distributor of the ball as well. He is good from dummy. He's not a runner, but his passing is always on point. And but yeah, he's more there really as a defensive hooker, and he does that job tremendously well.
Couldn't agree with you more. A couple of again, we'll get to the big one now because, of course, like I said, the bookend. We're getting to the other big game as I see it this weekend. Taking you, of course, for those who are joining us on the rerun and watching this from 6, we'll get you to the Sky Sport production. Don't worry about that. But Phil Webster saying that, with the league fixtures gone, should the league champions be the league champions? In my eyes, yes, they should. It will never happen. Unfortunately, we've got the NRL version now. I don't think they'll ever go back. I agree with you. I think it should be a premiership, more trophies to go around. I think the fact that there's only really at the moment 2, because people discount the league. I don't. I think if you win a league title over 27 rounds, you deserve to win it. But by making the league be the league winners and then a premiership, we're increasing that pool to 3 real quality trophies then that people will want to go and win like they did back in the day. So I'm all for that, Phil. Ethan Ryan has gone to Oldham. Another departure from Salford has been announced as well. Whilst we've been on air, the game against Leigh will happen. Don't worry about that. That will happen. There's no doubt about that at all. And Kerry Dixon says Danny Houghton level stats there. Yeah, do you know what? Danny Houghton was a class player for FC. Class. I mean, faded a bit at the back end. Father time caught up, but yeah, Danny Houghton, class. And let's be fair, we'll always have a tackle that got him a man of steel. Anyway, not better. But anyway, there you go. We move on. Let's get into this little beauty. Absolute beauty. What a game. What a game this one's going to be. Absolutely fascinating. Fascinating game on Sunday, 3:00. Get your chicken in the oven, get yourself ready for this one. This is a belter. Playoff Rugby League. These are going to be in the mix for the playoffs, I believe. Wake, because of their running, will be the 6th team. And of course, depending on where Wigan finish, if they were to finish outside the top 2, if they didn't get second, they could meet Wakefield again. That could happen. So, like I say, massive game this between these two. Wigan have won their last 9 home games against Wakefield Trinity. Interesting that. And Trinity's last win at the Brick was a 42-30 Tri-Fest in May 2017. Wakefield have won 3, though, of the last 5, as you can see there on the graphic. So do not count out the Trin, is what I would say. Of course, this season, a 16-10 win at the DIY Kitchens. Absolutely marvellous. What a great win that was for Wakey Trinity. Both of them have won 3 in the last 5. Do you know what? And it's this. This is Wigan we're talking about. We're talking about Wigan, and I'm not saying anything bad when I say this from a Wigan perspective. I want us to shine a light on the great job that Darryl Powell has done at the start of this season. Would anybody would have thought that the points 4 would have been that close, Wakefield to Wigan? Would anybody have thought that the defence would have been that close, Wakefield against Wigan, put side by side? Never in a million years. And this isn't me saying that Wigan are doing anything bad. This is me saying, well done, Darryl Powell. What an incredible season he has had at Trin, and of course rewarded with a new 3-year contract.
Yeah, and I think the most impressive, I mean, the points 4 are impressive. The points against 358 is right up there. We take KR and Leeds out of the equation. It's right up there. So that's very impressive for a team that's newly promoted to defend that well against established Super League sides. So yeah, and I mean, it's 8 years, did you say there, since Trinity last run at Wigan? I think it's been confirmed now. Still no Bevan French for this one, no Luke Thompson for this one.
Thompson, no, and Darryl Powell in his pre-match confirming Rodwell, who played in the reserves, has gone down with a back injury, so he's had another player who's had a really bad 25 where injury's concerned. Caleb Halim, he's out again. He's not playing. Johnstone has been training, wouldn't be drawn on if he's playing or not. So that's an interesting one for the Trin. Will Tom Johnstone return? But yeah, from a Wigan perspective, looks like it's pretty much as you were in terms of the KR squad.
Yeah. I think Myers will come in anyway if Johnstone doesn't. And I've been really impressed with Myers. I think he's been brilliant for them, as has Walmsley as well. Lachlan Walmsley's been brilliant on the wing and thoroughly deserves his extended contracts for them. So that's going to be two matchups on the wings. Miskey and Marshall versus Walmsley and Myers. That's going to be fascinating. I just. For me, in this one, the thing where I'm edging a little bit towards Wakefield is their attacking threat and the way Wigan are playing at the moment. And I think Wakefield are good enough to defend against Wigan, especially without that strike of French and the holding back off French. That plays into Wakefield's hands a little bit. Um, I think they'll use it as real motivation. The length of time that they've not won at the Brick as well, they'll really target this one. And I think they're chasing more than Wigan are. As important it is for Wigan to win and get that second spot, they can still afford to lose this and still finish second. That's still a possibility. But for Wakefield, they have to get this win for me to really. If they do, then they're in the playoffs. Okay, FC are catching them. So this will be one Wakefield have probably got as a potential loss marked off on their card. But if they can get a win, then they're in the playoffs.
Well, it's not just that. I think all of us have got a soft spot for Trin this season, and I think there's a lot of people who'd be delighted for him to get that sixth spot, but none of us really believe they're getting to Old Trafford. They go and beat Wigan at the Brick. Hold your horses is what they're basically saying. If Wigan were to win this, I still think Trin finished in sixth based on who they've got to play. But in terms of their real opportunity to really go and do something remarkable, I think people again would probably go, probably not. So I think in that respect, it's one for Trin. I mean, look, Wigan had a bruising game last week. Trin had a week off. So again, is that a good week off? Is that a bad week off? We're going to find out. From a Wigan perspective, how sore are they? The motivation's there. They're going to want to bounce back. Of course they are. Anybody who knows anything about Matt Peat and the Wigan Warriors, when they lose, they don't like to lose two on the bounce. So they're going to be absolutely bang at it. There's no doubt in that one. But I agree with you. I think, the halfback piece at the moment, Farriman could return. That's something that Matt Peat did say in his pre-match. That he played in the reserves, didn't feel he was ready for the game against KR. So Farriman could, and that would shore them up a little bit in the halves. I think if he was to go in with Smith and Kieran again, it's advantage Trin because it just looks a bit more well-oiled in terms of that. It's a fascinating game, and I think it'd be a high quality again, like we've had quite a few of these games over that, and we're going to keep getting them as well between now and the end of the regular season. Some of these games are high quality. I think tonight's game will be high quality. I think this one will be high quality. I think the Saints one has got the potential, if FC turn up, to be a high quality game of rugby league. So it's a fascinating game at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Before we get into just a couple of conversations around this game that I think are worth having in a bit more detail, let's give shout outs to, first of all, Patrick Mago. If Mago plays, he's 150 in his career and it's 100 in Super League. Good effort, Mr. Mago. One of the great, honestly, let's not forget, this is the great Patrick Mago who can get a man of the match performance in 15 minutes. Ethan Havard, 100 in Super League for Ethan. And Liam Marshall, 2 more tries would get him to his 150th for both Wigan and in Super League, because of course that's who he's always ever played for. Liam Marshall not had his best of seasons. I mean, this is I say not had the best of the season. This is where I'm going next, right? So all of us are questioning Wigan, but also in the next breath, we know how threatening they are and the position and the respect that they deserve. And yet you look at the league table and it's very similar to where they were last year, albeit they're not first or second, but they're tracking they're not a million miles off in terms of the trajectory that they've got in terms of Super League. Yes, they've lost the Challenge Cup. Yes, they're probably going to surrender the League Leaders Shield. And we're all scratching our heads thinking there's a vulnerability there. And we've been picking out certain players all season. Liam Marshall, his try-scoring haul, been nowhere near his 2024 try-scoring haul. And one player that we've all been talking about for half a season, it would appear, it's Junior Nsembe. at the start of the season, and everybody's, Junior December, possible man of steel, shooing for the Ashes. And all of a sudden, the tide has turned, and people are going, oh, well, actually, Junior December, he's no longer a shoo-in for the Ashes and this, that, the other. So I thought, let's just take a look at Junior December. And this is mad. This is mad. And there is a question in our future. Don't worry about that stuff. But look at this. So compare and contrast Junior December 24 to 25. The 24 is full 27 round stats. So as we sit here now, he has scored one less try but made 3 more. He has done more tackle busts this season than in the entire season last year. He's offloaded more. His tackle efficiency slightly down, but only slightly. And he's already carried the ball more this season. He's more busy. But at the moment, he's about 200 yards down or meters down on last year, so he's on track to better that. So when you look at that, you're almost going, well, it's confusing. So from your having seen that, Steph, are we judging Junior? Have we put him on a pedestal, on an elevation where we're expecting too much in 2025? Because that would suggest, statistically, he's on a track to be better.
Yeah, it's well, this is where we have we have this conversation all the time, don't we? I mean, stats are great and they do paint a picture, but also they can be a bit of a false indicator as well. I think Wigan have maybe overused Junior a little bit, and that's maybe affected his game a little bit. But I also think the sides have worked him out a little bit as well. And yeah, it's great that he's done some more busts and things like that. But I think just because he's made more busts doesn't mean that's just one person who could have fell off the tackle. If you look now, I think he gets more 2 low, 1 high kind of thing on him. The sides put him under a lot of pressure as well now. They really pick him out. Whereas last season it was his first. He was an unknown, wasn't he? So whilst those stats are great still, and let's be fair, most second rowers would be over the moon with those stats that Junior December's pulled up there. I think you're absolutely right to point out. I think we expected more of him, and we expected him to kick on. He's had a couple of injuries, hasn't he, as well, a couple of knocks or whatever. Missed a couple of games, but I think it's just a case of he's not a surprise package anymore. And I don't think he stood out as much as he did last year because of that.
It's just fascinating, isn't it? I mean, there's also that element of, the fact that he's done already more carries than he did last year. Is he doing, as you say, is he doing too much? Was he picking and choosing his lines better last year, picking and choosing his runs better last year? I mean, again, can't get into that level of detail. I'll have to go and watch 27 games in this season.
I'd be interested to know his minutes rather than games. Because the other thing that doesn't tell you is, yes, he's played, less games this year, is it, or whatever, but we don't know how many minutes he was playing in those games in 2024 compared to 25, and that's where I'm saying, has he been potentially overused a little bit?
Maybe. The one thing, and this is where just maybe, we are getting the narrative in terms of Junior in 2025. Errors. Last year he made 10 in the whole season. This year he's on 17, and we've still got five games to go. So the fact that we're seeing spilt ball a little bit more, maybe, or some key moments of the game where you can make an error and go under the radar, but then you can also make an error where it's a pivotal part of the game. Has he this year? Is he sticking in our mind because in pivotal moments of a game he's made an error, and that is again fueling this narrative that he's not at his best. I mean, like I say, your eyes are telling you that Junior, whether it be expectation, whatever it may be, there's a feeling that he's just not where he was last year. But he's not a million miles off, and with 5 games to go and a playoff series, you could very easily see him all of a sudden getting back to that Ashes starting second row.
Yeah.
If he was to do that. But it's a big if, because at the moment, like I say, I think other players are probably just sneaked in ahead of him.
Yeah, and it's a bit like Walmsley. Do you remember early in the season when he was making those knock-ons, and then everyone's saying, "Oh, he's gone, he's rubbish." Best meter maker of the competition. So that's perception's not always reality, is it? And some things can mar your judgment in terms of some things stand out more than others and are highlighted more in terms of a performance rather than actual statistics. So I don't think he's as good as he was last season in December. And I know the stats go against that, but I
Yeah.
don't know whether it's like I said, because teams have worked out his game a little bit. He'll 100%. He will be getting a hell of a lot more video done on him this season than what it was last season, and that's the difference. And I think you're right in terms of those errors. And I think you can put Junior in the same category as Wigan as a team.
Yes, that's what I mean, and that's why that's why I did it, because
Yes.
the two go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, well, because people made the argument to me already, but Wigan are still second. You're saying they're not being good this season; they're still second by their own standards. It's different, and it correlates exactly with Junior in Semba. Stats tell you one thing, but your eye and just how you view the games that they played and the games you've watched them in, both of them say that Wigan haven't been as good as they were last year, even though the stats tell you they're better or they're the same.
It really is. It's absolutely fascinating. It really is. And I think if you remember last year, there was certain games. I think Salford comes to mind where he was break. You were seeing him in full flight. We haven't seen Junior in December in full flight as much this season. Last year, you could have probably made a highlight reel of some of his breaks where he was leaving people in his dust, or going in on his own, or a simple offload, and it was all about what he'd done and he'd produced. And I think maybe we haven't had as much of that this year, which again detracts from the way people think. But it's an interesting one. I completely agree with your point. You could put Marshall in the same bracket. You look at Marshall 24 to 25. It's just not been as good. There's very few players in that Wigan squad this year where, if you compared and contrast them on 24, you would say that your eye is telling you that they've upped their game. I mean, Eckersley would probably be one that you'd say, I think Jai Field's another one that way you say, it's a bet. Jai Field has been a lot better, appears to have been a lot better for Wigan this year than he was perhaps the year before. But equally, there's all these ones where you go in the other way. It's a fascinating discussion. I thought, you know what, that's going to fill a couple of minutes, and it more than did so. Let's get now back into an incredible narrative. You mentioned him earlier, Harry Smith. I mean, Harry Smith, as long as he gets himself up from the fly, hitting him in the eye, which I'm sure he will.
Did he fail his HIA?
No, I don't think he did. I think he was okay. I think he passed it. Yeah, I think he passed it. I think he might have tweaked his ankle a little bit though when he went down to his knee, but I think that's okay as well. He got a bit of ice. He's okay. But Harry, mate, if you're watching, mate, come on, you've got to laugh at yourself. Shocking effort. But beware of Harry Smith, because we know Harry Smith can win a game. We know Harry Smith on his day can be incredible. But the man that he's going up against, the direct comparison on Sunday, Lino against Smith. This is a cracker. Lino's still only 30. He's still 31, I think. 31. Still plenty of rugby in him. He's probably one of the surprises. Not in terms of his ability, but I don't think anybody expected Mason Lino this season to come back to Super League and to be as consistent and as good as he's been. And, it's right and it's appropriate that we'll put him alongside Harry Smith, because, Harry Smith, I believe, last year had a pivotal part, and I would say it until I'm blue in the face. Without Harry Smith, Wigan don't win a quadruple. He had a great season in 24.
Yeah.
But this season, by his standards, again, it's not been the greatest. He seems slightly off. Whereas Lino has been outstanding for Trinity.
But I'd make the same point on Lino in terms of, I think if Lino's not in that team and they go with Ollie Russell, they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, again, you don't drop a winning team and a player in that form. Lino he's took his chance. He's never looked back. 20 assists, outstanding. Doesn't kick as many these days. But again, I think also his game management. We've seen games this year where Mason Lino's game management has been sublime.
He's dropped goals.
He's dropped goals as well. Yeah, absolutely. Point well made. He's picked that up. Was it Leeds? It was Leeds, wasn't it? Big one against Leeds.
This is what I'm saying about Lino. Is if you've not got these drop goals in, FC are in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, good shout. Yeah, happy days, mate. No, you bang on point. This for me, great tussle. Well worth tuning in for. There's others across the park, of course. We could have taught the middle unit as well, because I think it's advantage Trin in the middle unit. We know Thompson in there. Did he pass or fail his HI? I'm trying to remember. Tyler
He passed it. He came back on.
Yeah, he's okay, isn't he? So that's a bonus for him. Albeit, as you said at the start of the season, Dupree was your point to prove, and I think Tyler Dupree should have kicked on far more than he has. And this is the thing when you
got to Wigan as a star signing on big money.
We either choke or you thrive, don't you? And is there a bit of that? Is the stage too big? Because even when Jackson Hastings went there, outstanding at Salford, and then he went to Wigan and he struggled. And it's the same when you go to a club with the stature of Wigan, mentally. It's not just what you can. Your rugby is dictated by what's between your two ears, and some people can rise to that occasion, some people can't. And at the moment, Tyler, he's had a couple of moments, but I think he'd agree himself, his consistency in form has not been anywhere near where we'd expect it to be. One of these two could be a player of the game. I think if Trinity win, Lino will have a massive say in it.
Yeah, well, we just talked about golden points. He would be surprised if this one went to golden point and Lino not won over. I can 100% see that. And it's not like Wakefield aren't capable. They did that. I know Leeds will say, "Oh, we had players out and blah 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 blah." Wakefield were brilliant in that game, and they went toe to toe with Leeds. If Wakefield play like that, and not like they did against St Helens. And this is the thing with Wakefield, it's which Wakefield shows up, because the one thing they haven't got this year is consistency. They've been a bit like Leigh, really, phenomenal in some games, pretty average in others. But if the same team that turns up that night at the DIY Kitchens against Leeds this Sunday, then we're going to be in for one hell of a ding-dong. And are Wakefield capable of turning Wigan over? Absolutely they are. If they're on fire, and Jowett steps up in it as well. It'd be interesting to see if Rourke gets a run.
It's unlikely. It's more likely going to be Truman, Lino, Jowett at full, isn't it? I mean, whether he gets on the bench as a utility, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we haven't even talked Max Jowett, have we?
I'm not. I know. I'm not convinced by Truman. I'm really not. I think if you look at where Wakefield have played their best, it's been when Lino and Jowett have been the halfbacks and Rourke has been at fullback. That for me is their best setup in terms of a spine. But who am I? Darryl Powell knows a lot better than me.
And again, Truman's one of those, isn't he? Where he's that injury prone, and he's had such a stop-start career. But I agree with you. Again, I was really surprised when Darryl Powell made the decision to bring Truman back, because at that point in time, the Lino Jowett halfback combination with Rourke at fullback was on point. It was fine. There was no issue with it.
I'd say it was potent.
Absolutely, and that's the problem that Wellens has got now at Saints. Yeah, but where Wellesby's concerned, it has been. I mean, but how do you leave out Jack Wellesby? Despite our friend the Saints fan calling him a show pony on Weekly this week.
Well, the thing is, what I don't get is you've got someone like Truman who is injury prone. Yet you've got someone like Rourke who's really shown what he can do and been rewarded with a new 3-year contract extension and can't get in the team now.
But the thing is, Steph, that's a really good point, because when you get, look, I'm going to go. Trinity for me gets sixth.
Yes.
Now, because Truman has been injury prone and he's been in and out, and I think that there's been better consistency from. I mean, Jowett is playing 1 or 6 no matter what, and rightly so. So the conversation's Rourke and the conversation's Truman, and for me, you don't go into playoff rugby league where if Truman was to go down 10 minutes in, which is a possibility. I wouldn't wish it on Jake. He's had terrible luck with his injuries. But, all of these things blend in. But also what you miss is, we've seen this creep in. We've seen a few players do it this year, but I still think nobody's better. There's nobody better in Super League catching a ball from behind his back than Josh Rourke. He's done it time and time again. And that is such a unique weapon in any team's arsenal, isn't it? It really, really is. And like I said, I was amazed when Truman came back. Amazed. They'll probably have one of the match now on Sunday. Me and you on round unpacked.
Right, yeah. Well, if he does, I'll hold my hand up and go,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's the thing. I don't think it's not that we don't want Jake to do well. Or my point is purely that I feel that Wakefield had played the best with Rourke at fullback and Jarrett at six. I think Jarrett's a better fullback than he is a six, but I just think that combination. And you're right that it's the high balls from an attacking perspective. Rourke is the best at it in the business.
Yeah,
It's such a weapon to have.
Yeah.
And you see how vulnerable Leigh have been against a bomb and no one jumping for it because they're that worried about losing it or whatever. It's a huge weapon, and I just think it's such a waste of a player. You've obviously got confidence in Rourke. Why would you give him an extended contract and then to leave him in the reserves?
Because it gives me and you something to talk about for 5 minutes, and what a great conversation it's been. But anyway, enough of this. Let's get to a serious matter. Can he get them right this week? Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
I think the answer to that question, Dave, is no. But we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. So I've got on the handicap ACCA this week. OKR minus 3.5. I think they'll be more than a try score against Leeds, but that's a coin flip. Could go either way tonight. Hull FC plus 14.5. With losing Asiata, this one's probably a bit of a gamble, but I am banking on Caesar coming back in and it being a good game. But I do see Saints winning it, but 40.5 is a lot to make up. Catalan Dragon minus 40.5, another one that's pretty out there, but given the first half performance from Catalan last week and the way Castleford have played, I think Catalan are going to put in a real big home performance. I think they're 3 tries better than Castleford. Warrington minus 10.5. That loss of Frawley, I think it's going to be a big cost for Huddersfield. But Ollie Russell coming in, who knows? I think Matt Duffy's going to want to prove a point in this game, and if King comes back as well, there should be a couple of scores better than what Huddersfield are. And Wakefield plus 14.5. Again, I think this we've just discussed it. If Wakefield turn up and play to their potential, this could be potentially golden point. So 14.5 start, given the way Wigan have played these last few games in terms of their attack, I think it's very generous from the bookies. So if you have all those 25 to 1. And for the anytime try scorers, I've gone Owen Dagnall and Tristan Saylor in the Saints FC game, and Joe Burgess in tonight's game versus Leeds OKR. We are limited on the try scorers because they don't come out in enough time. But if you bet on those 3, 9 to 1.
Well, there you go. Bet Stef for another week. We will, of course, be dipping into that when we get back together for Round Unpacked on Monday for our members' exclusive show. Do you want to be a member? Do you want to see Round Unpacked on a Monday? Do you want the opportunity potentially of going and seeing Kevin Sinfield on his speaking tour at Wigan free of charge, courtesy of Super League Raw, and far, far more benefits than that? Then go over to our website, www.superleagueraw.com, do the QR code, become a part of this wonderful community. I've fully enjoyed our chat, Mr. Sale. I have to say, I think you're fivefold. Quite like that. It's not a bad one. I think there's a couple, the FC, the way, but you know what? You could see it. You could see that one coming in. You could see it coming in, mate.
I like the try scorers this week.
Yeah. I think Dagnall Saylor. Yeah, but for me, it's budget. That's the one. Yeah, but I don't know, he's probably due one, and he's been a bit barren the last few games. And like I said, I mentioned like Toby King, good run of tries against Huddersfield if he's in. Yeah, that'd been interesting to throw him in there. But yeah, I think you're saying too.
I couldn't pick him; he wasn't available. They don't come out soon enough. That's the problem with Stef. Anytime try scorers can only be in the first 3 games. I'm handicapped.
Yeah, you're handicapped. That's it. You stick to that story, mate. I'll let you. But
365 don't want me to win.
No, but I think your Saints ones, I could see Dagnall and I could see Saylor getting a result. And who knows, the show pony. Hello there to our St. Helens fan who called Jack Wells with the show pony. Maybe the show pony will come back for Saints and get a try as well. That has been Captain's Run. It's now time, ladies and gentlemen. If you started watching this at 6 o'clock, get over to Sky Sports. Get your tea ready. Get your beers out the fridge. It's time for the great game of Super League to come back for round number 23. It's the Leeds Rhinos against Hull KR. Should be a spectacle. All of you members out there, make sure you're in the watch along group. We'll look forward to your comments throughout the game on behalf of myself and Steph. Make sure you catch the Final Whistle podcast on Monday. And members, we will be back to unpack all around 23 just for you on Monday as well. Bye for now.